Hi, welcome everyone. You can see a few new faces. We are Vedic Vision Society. Basically, we teach the science of happiness and we conduct weekly events, speaker events where Prabhuji, Nityanand Pran Das Prabhu comes and he gives a session, informative session. We enjoy a lot actually and then we learn a lot. That's the main thing. And today's session is based on anger management, and let's start.
Oh, thank you. So, this is our first, I like your t-shirt. First gathering at VVS. Some faces are, of course, faces I know, some I don't know. Maybe those who's here for the first time. Maybe tell me your name and what you're studying on campus. Studying or?
My name is Rima Nanda. I am studying. I'm a finance major student and I'm from DePaul University.
Oh, okay. Rima.
Rima.
Very nice. Thank you for coming.
My name is Devanshi and I'm studying in IIT and my major is chemical engineering.
Chemical engineering. Okay, thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Sharad Gangalapadu and I'm doing my Masters in Data Science at IIT.
Well, thank you for joining us. Most everyone, I think we know each other. So, among different topics that what we do is when the semester begins, we take a theme and over the course of about 12 sessions, we develop that theme. For different reasons, this semester we haven't met. 2 sessions were conducted by Rishikesh and the rest of the time I have been traveling, and so things somehow haven't panned out. So I'm actually very happy to be here with you tonight. Generally it's Friday nights and we hope that nothing else is happening, but if you did come, that's really nice. Thank you. I've been coming to IIT this is my 14th year. For 14 years I've been here on campus every week doing topics like these and helping young students, professionals become a little bit more spiritually centered. Okay. And one of the things that I guess recommend and I like, 2 things is one, I'm also a student of spiritual science, so it's not necessary that I know everything. I also like to hear your views. Okay, so one of the things that happens, especially for most people, I'm looking around the room, everyone here is from India. A lot of things get pushed down our throat and we either have to accept it, or if we asked a question or challenged it, if you will, then we get a whole range of answers from shut up, this is how it is, or why can't you just follow, or some answer that doesn't make any sense. By the time you ask a next question, then you're shut out by saying you're asking too many questions. Okay. So our goal is that I would like you to be challenged, okay? And while you're being challenged, I'm sure each one of us has our own history playing in the back, because we grew up in a particular way, we heard something differently, our grandparents did it very different, blah, something. Speak up. We'd love to hear. I at least those of us who've been here know that I'm happy to hear, I want to hear, and just the way you guys should be challenging me, then I'll also challenge you in terms of where did you get this from, what's the basis for this, etc. Are you ready for a challenge? Yes. Are you ready for a challenge? Yes. Okay, good. Me too. What is your name? Samruddhi. Okay, thank you for joining us. Hitesh. So anything is fair game. Okay, my only request is keep an open mind. Okay, that's one. And second, it's not possible to convey everything in 45 minutes. Okay, so it's not one session that you come or something you say, yeah, some things I heard didn't make sense to me. It's not like that. It's not possible to say everything in 45 minutes or an hour. So as far as that's clear, and there's no question that is a stupid question. Any question is valid. You can ask anything, but ask it with the intention of knowing. Okay, not asking with the intention of I already know the answer, I want to find out how much you know. Okay, you can challenge me, that's fine. I'm used to this, I've been used to it for 14 years, that's not a problem. Any question is fine, just for your own benefit. The best way to ask is to ask to learn, not so much to know how much I know. And very soon you'll know I don't know much. So any questions that I cannot answer, Mahindri will answer. Okay? So that's just how it is. She knows. So if you ask very tough questions, we'll defer it to Mahindri. You ready? Yeah, so she always has an answer. So we're good. All right, so and we like to have a lot of fun. Okay, so if you're not having fun, then you're not in the right place. Okay, please. And if you don't like to laugh, then you should not be coming. Okay? Go to some other place where it is very serious. People don't smile and laugh. That is where you should go. If you like to laugh, then this is where you should come. And of course, dinners are always very nice. Which was I supposed to bring dinner tonight? Okay, because I. So we already are having fun. Our spice is totally disconnected. I've been driving all day. There are 4 things going on. Some people went there. Okay, we're having a great semester already. You may have to fix something. Otherwise, there's always water. Water is always wonderful. All right. Thank you, because the topic is how to control anger. So. If the topic were how to improve your memory, I should not be speaking this one tonight. Anyway, so the idea is overcoming anger. And I'm assuming, since all of you are studying at IIT, you have never been angry before. Correct? Am I right? No? You've been angry before? Alright. Any one of you considers yourself a very angry person? Really? Anyone? Everyone else says no anger. You're not an angry person. You get angry? Yes. Okay, what makes you angry? What makes you angry, Karthikeyan? I mean, you can tell the whole history if you like. I didn't ask you what are you angry now about. I asked what makes you angry.
When things don't go the way I planned it to go.
Oh, very good. You've heard that great statement, man proposes. It's actually man proposes and God laughs. Because when we have all these plans and things, generally, okay. What makes you angry? Anyone else? What makes you angry?
Inability to control things.
Yeah, inability to control things. Have you ever found yourself able to control anything?
Yeah, some things I can control, something I can't.
For example, you can control.
My grades.
You can.
I'm saying like a small.
So as far as grades were concerned, you were never angry.
No.
Hey, good. You should be speaking. It never happened that you had everything written down, but somehow the teacher cut extra points for something she should or he should not have cut, and that was okay for you.
I mean, that is when if you max out and you don't get it, but yeah, I don't max out.
Okay. Alright. Anyone else? Mind oh, you're angry. Okay. Hypocrisy.
Today I was telling Vaishali about that few incidences.
Alright. Hypocrisy makes you angry. Give me an example.
Like when people say something and then they just don't like, they do something which is totally opposite of what they're actually saying.
Ah,
So right when they're saying it, they're doing right the opposite. So that makes you angry because they think that I'm a fool to not understand what they are like, what they are painting a picture, or they're trying to fool me basically. So
oh, all right. I don't have a solution for that. Anyone else? Aravind?
Disrespect.
That angers you? Disrespect towards you?
Towards me or towards something that's important to me.
Okay. And so whatever is important to you has the list of family, country, ideology, certain things, right? Okay. So is there anything outside that list?
The list that you told me.
Yeah. Oh, anything. What's outside the list that doesn't make you angry? If two people are fighting on the street and they're yelling at each other, it doesn't matter to you.
Matters.
Well, how come? Is it dear to you? What is dear to you at that time?
It won't make me angry, but it will make me do something.
Yeah, okay. My question is, what makes you angry?
Some sort of disrespect.
Some sort of disrespect. Okay, very good. Anyone else? Last speaker?
Injustice and some deed is not fair, like unfair, and that makes me.
And it's fair or unfair in whose view? Your view?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's very difficult. If something she feels is unfair, be careful. Because she has to make sure that it is fair. Someone else may feel fair, that's all right, but we don't care. But you should feel.
Do it like bias and yeah.
Alright, let's just take the fairness for a moment. When something's happening and we have certain emotion about fairness or unfairness or injustice, would you agree that 90% of the time we don't know all the facts? Okay. And if when we don't know all the facts, using 10% we're building our theory or viewpoint?
Sometimes the facts are straight.
Okay.
You don't need to see what is fact and what is not. Everything is written, documented.
It's possible. There may be those cases. How often is that the case?
There, but
Rare.
that
Okay.
has happened.
So justice, actually I'll tell you something. In the world of ethics, this topic of justice is a very, very difficult topic to deal with. Because for every person, what is justice, what is fair is very different. And regardless of how much there is justice or fairness, somebody always feels it's not enough. And someone always feels it's more than fair. And because there are 7 billion human beings, there are 7 billion plus viewpoints on fairness. In most cases, many people will cluster together. I spend my career in research and marketing, so generally viewpoints will cluster together. But even if they cluster, within that cluster of similarity, there's a lot of dissimilarity. So anger, now there are different ways to look at it. Generally I do it as a PowerPoint presentation, but not tonight. So generally when we use the word anger, we should start first with the definition of anger. Okay, so anger is defined as a violent response to an actual or perceived wrong from the other side. Okay, it's a violent response to a actual or perceived wrong on the other side. Why is it actual or perceived? Why not actual?
Maybe I might think it in wrong way, or
I might think it in wrong way, or
my percentage of known facts might vary. Actually.
correct. But a person who's angry never considers it that way. Okay, so by definition, when you're angry, you don't say, I'm very angry, but you may be right. It's not like that. But that, if you look at it objectively, it's either the fact or a perceived wrong or a mistake on the other side. All right. So then anger has certain effects. Okay. So one effect is physical effect on myself. If I am angry, I have some physical effect on myself. Then I have a financial effect. How? Because I might damage something. Usually anger is a violent response. Okay. So there is some damage. From a social perspective, I might lose my friendships. I might lose my relationship because I responded in anger in a particular way. Okay. And communal society and all that, there's most of the times fights happen because of anger. Okay. And what is one thing that people become very angry about very quickly?
Someone steals their food.
Food is still okay. In the history of the world, religion, very good. Most people think that it's freedom or lack of freedom. That's why there are wars in this world. But if you actually look at the history of humanity, most wars are on the basis of religion. Because religion is something people hold very, very dearly. Because their viewpoints are very strong. And it's the ground on which people stand on. So when you challenge someone's religion, you're taking the ground from under their feet. So they have nothing to stand on. So people become very, very angry. You can say things to people and safely get away. But if you say something about religion, it's very difficult to get away with it. Because the emotions are very, very strongly invested. Okay, so we'll build on that. One of our teachers says, having anger towards someone is like holding hot coals, waiting for an opportunity to throw it at the other person. Okay, I'll say it again. Being angry at someone is like holding hot coals, waiting for an opportunity to throw it at the other person. So it means that while I am angry at you or anyone, before that opportunity can even come, I'm holding hot coals. That means I'm already not only burning, I'm damaging myself already. Medically or physiologically speaking, when a person becomes angry, it says that certain toxins rise to the brain. And those toxins actually start degenerating the brain. And actually becoming angry more than, even if that person has done something wrong, by my becoming angry, I am hurting myself first before I can do any hurt to the other person. Okay, that's one. Second, usually we don't understand that if someone has done some mistake, right, our becoming angry actually starts clouding the actual mistake and adds another layer of complexity to the whole situation. Yeah.
But anger is needed sometimes.
Oh, coming. I'm just developing my thesis, and then you can share that idea of anger is required. So in the field of psychology, anger is categorized into two groups or two types. One is called primary anger, and the other is called, naturally, take a wild guess. Hey, secondary anger. Very good. Very intelligent crowd. Secondary anger. So primary anger is anger that has a curve that goes like this. It comes and it goes. and it is in proportion to the event that has occurred. For example, how many of you drive here? Okay, you ride a bicycle, you walk on the street, right? Something happens. You go to a vending machine, you put a coin, you want that bag of chips to drop or the bag of cookies to drop. It doesn't drop, you get frustrated, you give the vending machine a kick. Because somehow in India we know that electronics, when you hit them, they work better, right? Anyone had the TV where you have to hit it, then it starts working?
Yes.
Yeah. Mostly electronics are repaired by a little knock. Somehow, I don't know how it is, but we figured it out. So vending machine also, you might kick it. It's that moment of frustration, okay? And then you walk away. Or you're driving, someone cuts you off and you say some beep word, right? You don't speak such language. I know some people who do. You guys are, you're in IIT. You cannot speak like that. Some beep word, or we say something, some expression, and it goes away. Or something comes and goes. That's primary anger, and it is needed, and there is some room for it. Actually, it shows that we are conscious beings and that psychologically we're okay. That little bit of impulse is healthy. That's it. What most people deal with is the other type, anger. It's called secondary. And how to distinguish that from the primary anger is, secondary anger is so far disproportionate to the actual incident. It's like if there is a fly or a mosquito in the room, you bring a cannonball to kill it. That's where the anger is so far disproportionate, then you know that is a secondary anger issue. For example, I like a girl. I'm speaking because from India this is a big issue. I like a girl, she doesn't like me, I don't like her, that she should like anyone else. So when she's walking back from college, I throw acid at her. The stupidest thing one can ever do, but this happens. This is secondary anger. If I can't have her, no one can have. It doesn't make any sense. The anger. So if you analyze it, if I actually love that person, which I'm professing that I love that person, how can I cause the greatest harm to the person that I'm supposed to be loving the most? But where is rationality in all of this? You cannot find. Nothing rational. The response is very, very irrational.
But it is rational in the sense of the person doing it.
Oh, what? Mad people always think of it as rational. That's the issue we're trying to uncover. We're talking objectively here. And why it seems rational for the other person, will come to it. But for most human beings that have a proper brain, it is irrational, right? And for example, in America, I did a whole research. Usually I start with these case studies, but I didn't want to make it too morose, especially because I also forgot to bring dinner. I wanted to make it a little light. Okay, so first example, in America, I collected some cases just because they had a shock value to it. There was a mother whose baby was constantly crying, and she tried many ways to shut the baby up, but the baby would just not listen because the baby was only 2 months old. Can you ever speak to a 2-month-old baby and try to make sense? No, they're crying because something they need. And the mother tried and tried. She could not make the baby shut up. So she put the baby in the microwave and turned it on. As shocking as it is, these are all chronicled cases. She was angry. Okay. Someone else was asked rent. This happened a few weeks ago. One of my, I won't say friends, but my acquaintances. I knew the person for many years. He was a landlord. This happened a few weeks ago in Englewood here. Not here, Englewood somewhere there. The guy went to ask rent, and he's been asking rent because the tenant has not been paying their rent. So he went and he's been on their case. I want rent, I want you to pay him the rent. So these guys who were in tenants called him and said, oh, there's some pipe leaking, come on over. So he went to see the pipe. As he was bent down, one of the guys held him in a choke position and choked him to death. Why? Because he was asking rent. Okay, and they had a whole research done before they strangled him as to how many days can the body be kept in the sewer so that it becomes decomposed and not detectable. And they put him in the sewer after they choked and killed him so that no one can detect the body. Anyway, 4 days later they took the body out, whatever was remaining from the sewer, and tried to hide it somewhere, but somehow the police came to know. Okay, if you don't have rent, there are many other rational ways to solve it or at least address it. You don't kill the landlord. You don't like the girl that you supposedly love or like doesn't like you back. Acid is not the solution. Right? There are many other ways. You walk away, you just say, hey, whatever. That's not violence, or such disproportionate response is not there. However, then the question is, well, before we get there, I should share with us what are some areas or times when anger is required.
When you fully know that the person in front of you is not doing something properly, or is doing some injustice to you, you know that it's injustice for sure, and after telling him or convincing him for a long time, then also it's not, he's or she is not listening, then I think anger is the only option.
Anger is the only option as we know it. But I would suggest that anger may not be the only option. Anger may be an option. The choice is always yours. What are you going to do? Are you going to hold hot coals? Okay, that's the question to ask. Because however wrong the other person is, you're the one who are holding coals the moment you're angry.
What about the case when a mother and child, when child is doing some mistake and mother is trying to tell him or her that this is not the proper way to deal with this, and still the child is not listening, then mother shows anger.
Correct. And if mother shows primary anger, at that moment she yells or says something or slaps or whatever. Right? We're from India, so our method of discipline is very different. The way we grew up in America is very different. Okay, here you can raise your voice at the best, you can't hit, and you should not hit any child even if you're from India. But that's a different point. But there are ways in which a mother or a parent wants to discipline, but that anger is not disproportionate, right? Like putting in the microwave. But we have, I'll tell you, because I've spoken to certain students, one student from Loyola many years ago used to come regularly to our sessions, and I'm entering into what happens, the effects of anger. The night before exams, because in India when children go through exams, the parents are more stressed than the children themselves, right? You agree or disagree? Totally. The parents are stressed like anything. So this guy was a very brilliant student, okay, and would always get 90%. And in India to get 90 is not easy. Would get 90. But as soon as he would get 90 and bring the report card to his mother, the mother would say, how much did the cousin get? 92. Should bang his head to the wall. As if 90 was not enough. Now one may say that's a bad mother. But without knowing the larger, the loving mother, but there is something playing in the background for her, for which his 90 was not sufficient. And it happened so many times. So he had this urge to always excel in such a way, to such a degree, that 15 years later, he is in America, mother is in India, and the night before exams, he throws up. As a pattern, he would throw up and inside his mouth there would be blisters, and he could not sleep that night before any exam. And so when I came to him, I said, what are you stressed about? What's going on? He said, I have to do this well. But why? I cannot disappoint my mother. And I said, well, mother is in India, and this is a quiz or a test. What would you be disappointing her with? Then when he started revealing the story, you understand there is so much in the bag. So a parent becoming angry, or a police officer becoming angry, or a professor becoming, or you becoming angry at your friend, if you see something, if it's just that impulse and it goes away, it's a whole different issue. You understand? I'm speaking of secondary anger. Anger has its place. There is place where others will become angry, and there is right, but we'll speak of a third category later. Right now for us only two categories exist, primary and secondary. Okay? And in secondary, the main reason for secondary anger is way back here in our history, there is a lot playing out for us. Our own background starts, we call it in the field of psychology, our script begins to play. Okay? Our own script starts. So in this person's case, the reason the mother would knock his head to a wall was because they were living in a joint family, and that nephew's grades were always compared with her son's grades. And for her it was very important that her son was excelling, so that they don't speak about her as a mother. You're not a good mother because your son is not getting good grade. You know how the dynamic. So for her that was difficult to deal with. And so the pressure went on to the son to excel. So secondary anger, now we may say, I don't have it, which is wonderful. But somewhere we may not put our child in the microwave. That hopefully none of us is cuckoo for that. But we all have some anger that we hold on for a very, very long time. And they made Bollywood movies out of it, like anything. Two brothers, some perceived injustice. She liked the girl, he liked the girl that he also liked, and he couldn't tell, whatever, you know. There are many plots to it. They never speak to each other till the end of the movie. The father and the son don't speak, the mother and the son don't speak, mother and daughter don't speak, brothers don't speak, friends don't speak, whatever. Because there was some, and you always find yourself gravitating towards one of them because you know something that the other guy doesn't know, right? It's always the case. So our issue is dealing with secondary anger. When we hold a grudge, and that grudge lasts for a longer time, it stays for years, and we may think we may have forgotten it, but any time in the future another situation arises, and whatever was sleeping, the dormant anger, is all awake and ready. You're all students, so what I'm about to say may not be relevant to you. Anyone married here? Oh. So I have to say it. This is one of my favorite. When we do sessions with couples, we bring this up. And here's what I'm going to narrate to you, a dialogue between a husband and wife. Okay? They've been married 15 years. And they're living a okay life, you know. No major issues between each other. They like each other, and most days they tolerate each other pretty well, and nothing wrong. So let's say both are working, and some or the other they're making life happen. And one day it was late, so somehow the wife came, fixed some meal, whatever, because the husband was coming later. Otherwise he would have cooked first, whatever. So she cooks, he comes back from work, he's had a rough day. So they sit down at the dining table, she's, you know, he serves, and whatever they're eating, and the dal has not enough salt that day. Okay? How many of you understand Hindi? If I would say it in Hindi. Hindi is okay?
Yeah.
Alright, because there's fun in Hindi, but anyway. Who doesn't understand? Shiva Senthil doesn't have to understand language. The emotions are more than sufficient to know. Okay? Okay. You know, because it plays in every house. So they are sitting and eating, and he says, you understand Hindi? Okay. He says, दाल में नमक कम है आज. तो she says, तो क्या हुआ? एक दिन बिना कंप्लेन करके खा लेना. Then he says, मैं कंप्लेन कहाँ कर रहा हूँ? मैं सिर्फ कह रहा हूँ दाल में नमक कम है. और तुम तो हमेशा ऐसे ही कहते हो. मैं जो भी बनाती हूँ उसमें से कुछ न कुछ नुक्स तो निकालते ही हो. तुम इतना डिफेंसिव क्यों हो रही हो? मैंने तुम्हारे बारे में थोड़ी, मैंने सिर्फ कहा कि दाल में नमक कम है. तुम हर चीज़ में इतना डिफेंसिव क्यों होती हो? अच्छा, मैं डिफेंसिव हो रही हूँ? कोई तुम्हारे बारे में कुछ बोलता है तो तुमको ठीक है. अब मैंने कब क्या? तुम क्या, तुम्हारे फैमिली में सब ऐसे हैं. हर बात का नुक्स निकालते हैं. अभी याद है शादी में पिंकी मौसी की आंटी ने क्या कहा था? अभी तुम पिंकी मौसी के बारे में क्यों क्या? अरे वो शादी में कुछ तो पालक या पनीर ठीक नहीं था, तुम लोगों ने कितना कंप्लेन किया उसके बारे में. मेरे फादर की तो जान निकल गई इसमें. मेरे फादर के बारे में बात मत करो, तुम्हारे फादर ने कुछ कम नहीं किया था. अच्छा, अब मेरे पिताजी के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. तुम तो ऐसे हो. एक्चुअली मुझे तुमसे शादी नहीं करनी चाहिए थी. 4 और अच्छे ऑफर्स आए थे, लेकिन समय किसी ने कह दिया अच्छा फैमिली है, प्रेशर में आके मैंने शादी कर ली तुमसे. मेरे भी अच्छे आए थे ऑफर्स. ओके, so now you see, of course I'm sobering it down, it goes even further. But दाल में नमक कम होने से 15 years later they're gone straight to what their parents told each other during the wedding. True story, happens. Some versions must happen somewhere, right? Have you ever witnessed something like that? I've witnessed all that. I have been married to my wife, very loving. Turn that thing off, okay? For 28 years. We love each other madly like anything, even till date. We have great affection for each other. But whenever our marriage topic comes up, she will definitely tell what my uncle did. We laugh about it today. Okay, we can laugh about it. I can laugh about it. But in most couples that I have seen and we have counseled, something that's sitting quietly is just a sleeping tiger, and the best thing to not do is to kick it. You never do something like that. So these are all secondary angers. They're sitting there for a long time, just waiting. You remember the hot coals? Just waiting. And in the process, we hurt ourselves. Okay. So then, this anger, there are sort of features or types of it. In the secondary anger, there are different types. The first type is called passive aggressive. Passive aggressive means a person who's very angry but will never show it. Will only do things that will show the anger but never say anything. Meaning whatever you try, they will sabotage it for you. Rather than put it on someone, let's say if we will sabotage something, we'll smile and say, yeah, Vaishali, sure, and then you will do something, or I will do something to sabotage what we are going to do with Vaishali. This is called passive aggressive. It's very dangerous because you can't detect it. Most persons, when they are angry, you can detect, because in their eyes there is a physiological change. The eyes become red, the lips quiver, the fists get clenched, the teeth get clenched, the different things. Some people throw stuff, they yell, they loudly say stuff. But the passive aggressive ones are tough because they're like, I'm not angry. Are you angry? You want to talk? I'm not angry. I'm not angry. But they will do everything to sabotage anything good that can come from that relationship in that situation. You know any passive aggressives in your life? Have you ever met any passive aggressive in your life? Yes or no?
Yes.
We have done sometimes.
Well, we met ourselves, of course, but it's easier to recognize in others. The most difficult thing is to recognize this in one's own self. Because anger is something that only others see. We ourselves will never tell ourselves, I'm angry. It's very rare. So that's one is passive aggressive. The second is called lock it up. Okay, so lock it up types are who will always, the politicians in one sense, if you will. Okay, the great actors. They are seething with anger inside, but they will smile as if nothing is wrong. But will turn around and do something most horrendous. Or they will tell themselves and others, I never get angry. Kabhi gussa nahi aata hai. But inside is boiling, but they can never detect it. Or they're too shy to tell anyone, I am angry, I can get angry. That's why I first asked, how many of us get angry once in a while? Most people think, I'm not angry. I never get angry. Shantamurti. You only me and a dead body both never get angry. It's like that. Okay. Of course, the third one is the one who's fully expressive of it. Throwing things, yelling, stomping the floor, stuff like that. So the question is, where does this anger come from? It's already there. Where does it come from? So then it's easy to detect it, but it's very difficult to know the mechanics of it. So where do we go to find, you can see a movie called Anger Management, but there are many so-called things such as managing anger techniques. One of them is take a deep breath. When you're about to get angry, you take a deep breath. And before you say something, you're supposed to count till 10. Okay? So some people count 1, 2, some people go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. I told you already. It's like that. So you're supposed to count. But these techniques not always work. Because when a person is angry, something else is also happening, which we turn to the Bhagavad Gita. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna analyzes how anger manifests in a person and what happens after that anger manifests. So before I tell you those, the analysis of it, think of it as what I'm going to say in words as a visual picture. Okay? The visual picture for me is, you watched a National Geographic video. I often quote it. Have you seen any National Geographic video? Have you ever seen a cheetah running after a deer video? Right. And when it is played in normal motion, you only see done. Right? But they never show it in that speed. They show it in slow motion. Why? Because in slow motion, there's a lot more information. In fast motion or normal, you don't see it. So when it is a tough chase, right? They always slow it down. As when an eagle is narrowing down on some animal, or a cheetah is about to be on the kill, or a snake is about to pounce on something or on its prey, they always slow it down. Because in slow, you see more information, right? So when a person becomes angry and they say something, between that, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that there are 8 steps that they go through. So this is the slow motion version of it. So first of all, Krishna says that any person who starts contemplating on an outcome that they want, okay, the first step is already predetermining that I am going to do something and I want that outcome. Okay, that's called having certain expectations. And we'll qualify that expectation later. But already predetermining, I want the outcome this way. Right? To your point, what was your name again? Sharad. To Sharad's point, when I feel that I am in control and I want a certain outcome, that's the first step. And he says, yeah.
But you set some goals when you are...
Yeah, coming. That's why the first point was man proposes and God laughs. We all have to set goals. But then there is, what I said is not setting goals. I said I already contemplate and what outcome I want.
So when studying, I expect good grades.
Coming.
So is that
So then that's the first step. You already set yourself up. Okay. Then the second he says is, from that contemplation, what develops is an attachment to that goal. Somehow I want it to happen. That if it doesn't happen, is not okay for me. Understand? So if you just say I want it to happen, if it doesn't happen, we'll figure it out, is not an option. I want it to happen and that's it. It should happen. It's called an attachment. In Sanskrit it's called sangha. Okay? Sangha means to become attached to it. I cannot think of an alternative other than that outcome. Okay? Then he says, Sangat sanjayate kama. Then that outcome becomes my intensified desire. It must come out that way. There's no other option. And in life, if you've not already figured out, however we expect things, that's not how they pan out. Right? They never pan out the way we expect things to pan out. Or if they do pan out that way, wait a moment or a few hours or a few days or a few weeks and that thing changes its characteristic. This is just how the world operates. Nothing remains exactly the way we expected it to be. I'm seeing heads nod, which means I'm correct. Always the case. Either our expectation changes, that object or whatever outcome comes the way we want, but there is always the but attached to it, not B-U-T-T, B-U-T attached to it. Something doesn't, it's there but it's not the whole thing. There's always a catch, right? Or it changes after some time. So that is when Krishna says, Kamat Krodha Abhijay, one's anger manifests. So by definition, anger is always there in a latent condition, hidden, as long as there is a gap between outcome and expectations.